Let me tell you where things are always cooking, by the way. The education station actually is an idea that I've had. We have had over, just like Robert's had 1,002 episodes, Madison, we have had over 200 individual guests on Education Station since we started it over 2 years ago. It was started, actually, an idea occurred to me. I went to the NAPFTDS, the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools conference out in Arizona. And I was so packed, and there were so many people with so many different approaches to education, all of them with a commitment to getting people CDLs, all of them with a commitment to making sure that the trainers of tomorrow could teach the students of tomorrow. Um, that foundation was there, but their approaches were different, their understandings were different in regards to who their students were. Sometimes, regional and community colleges, smaller programs, embedded into publicly funded, action. And I said, you know what, we could actually do a segment every week with any one of these people. And I said, we had 14 people on that particular conference. And I said, man, that's 14 weeks of programming. Let's just get these people locked in, and then we'll build from there. And we did. Our good friend Martin Garci is one of the people who made it happen. And because of him, we get to talk to people like Douglas Clarks-Pritchard, who is the lead truck driving instructor at the School of Applied Technologies in Waukesha County Technical College. He is a board member at the NAPFTDS. And we get to say, good morning. How are you, man?
Great. How are you?
I'm delighted to have you because we're talking about what it is you guys are creating, the drivers of tomorrow. But before we get to that, tell us about, well, I want to hear about the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools, what you guys have cooking right now. But I also want you to tell us a little bit about your college. I want you to tell us about what it is you guys do, who it is you guys serve, and what the overall college is, and then to kind of get to your program in specific. That's a lot of stuff to unpack. You pick where you want to go.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So my name is Douglas Clarks. Like you said, I am the lead instructor for the trucking department at Waukesha County Technical College. We service Waukesha County in Wisconsin and any of the surrounding areas of anybody that wants to obtain a CDL. Our college also is doing a lot in AI. We're one of the central hubs for AI in the whole United States. At our tech college, we're one of the first tech colleges with an AI program that offers a degree plan. So we're just trying to learn more and how to be better for the next group of students, for the next generation, to make that generation shine brighter. Things that we're doing now is we just restructured our whole curriculum. After 20 years of a set way, we restructured our curriculum to be more impactful and give the student more of a punch up front versus letting it drag out for a bit. So we went from a 10-week program down to an 8-week program to help us compete with some of the shorter programs in the area, but while still giving the students that same amount of instruction without missing out a lot of training opportunities.
That is a real dilemma that is happening right now. Your sister organization, CVTA, its executive director joined us yesterday. And that really is something that, is that you guys are going to have to wrestle with in the coming years. Maybe there'll be some pushback in regards to some of the programs you're competing with. But one of the issues, you guys want to make sure what people get when they're with you is comprehensive. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're able to get people to come to you because often people promise shorter times, less waits, and all that kind of stuff. But you're like, we want to get this right. So it's really, I imagine it must be agonizing kind of trimming that down from 10 to 8, although an 8-week program is still much more impressive than some of the things out there that people are getting that aren't giving them the quality of education they need, correct?
Very much so. One of the things for us, we went from a 384-hour program to 288. And the way we were able to rewrite the program, the students, we've lost one range training day and one road training day. A lot of the other things we embedded into the program. You're at college, so you're going to get treated like a college student. So some of the textbook learning they do is homework, and that allows them not to miss out on training time behind the wheel.
Okay, so the idea of embedding people into college, this is always a big discussion too, because we've often had, look, and this is what's so great about what it is you do and what it is your members do. One size does not fit all. Some programs
Correct.
really cater to people who are maybe a manager at a fast food restaurant and have 2 kids, and therefore they have to kind of find time to get themselves over there and figure out a way to put this together. Some programs, yours is the one we're talking about this morning, you talk about the embedded college experience. So what are you seeing in regards to enrollment? Who is showing up? Who is this driver of tomorrow? that is actually arriving on your campuses to kind of become truck drivers? And how do you accommodate that? I mean, like I said, 8 weeks embedded is still a really intensive time. Who is showing up to kind of get these CDLs and to get these certifications?
Well, the driver of yesterday is nothing like the driver of today. So now we have drivers that are more tech savvy, more career minded, and more safety focused, but also they're younger, fresh out of high school or the military. These are people that's trying to say, hey, I need a career that's going to last, something that I can build on, something that's going to be sustained. We started a new class on Monday, and one of the gentlemen said in class, the one thing that will never go away is truck driving. Regardless of how they reshape the industry, this world is always going to need truck drivers. And it couldn't be more of a true statement. So that's the biggest piece, the biggest change. One of the other changes that we're getting now are people from communities of disabilities, right? So we're getting deaf students now that are trying to enroll in the program, and we're learning a lot about the FMCSA standards when it comes to allowing deaf students in the program. That has changed. We went from having a 10% female registration to about a 20 to 25% female registration for classes now. And now we also have a dual enrollment program where students that are still in high school are earning their CDL. So they're leaving high school and college at the same time with a CDL in their back pocket ready to go into the workforce.
Wait, I'm going to make sure I just understood what you said. So people are actually being onboarded in high school and in college. So while they're simultaneously earning that high school diploma or that college diploma, they then walk out of that with that piece of paper while at the same time having a CDL. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
That's correct. Our college, and I'm quite sure there's a few other colleges in our area that have a dual enrollment program or a College Now program where the students are in their senior year of high school. They can come to WCTC, and there's been some students that have walked away with their associate's degree and their high school diploma at the same time, as well as we have students that have graduated high school and obtained their CDL at WCTC while finishing up high school their last senior year.
You know, that's a fair, and by the way, that in many ways, that is the future. I mean, can you imagine a situation where somebody actually comes out of college with a degree that actually could allow them a white collar job and also at the same time have a blue collar job? Although, as I like to say, trucking is quickly becoming a light blue collar job to a large degree.
Yes.
The kind of blending of both. I had a couple of questions based on some stuff you said. So you said you got an increased enrollment from 10 to 22% on the number of women who are actually attending these classes and looking for that CDL certification. I was kind of curious if maybe that's the start of how we kind of adjusted. If in fact you guys are tracking the success rates of your female graduates, because if we can get some retention there, that's a game changer. Are you following me here, by the way?
I'm following you. We have a great, for one, far as the full-time trucking instructors at WCTC, half of the instructors are female instructors. So we have two powerhouse female instructors at WCTC, and sometimes that's great when you have women that's trying to enter a workforce that isn't predominantly structured by females, right? So now you have two powerhouse women in front of you teaching you, and that empowers that female student even more. And we've had 18-year-old young ladies joining our class all the way up to 62 years old. So that having that woman in front of that classroom empowers those ladies to say, hey, if they've done it, I can do it too.
Yeah, and by the way, that's really exciting, just to kind of let people know. I find that a really exciting thing, because what that suggests is that maybe the route in is for that you guys can actually make a really positive impact on females working in the trucking space by simply finding qualified women as trainers, because then they become mentors to the potential mentees of the next generation of female drivers as well. That's exciting stuff. I'm going to tell you right now that in more ways than one might point to the future, that if people in fact find themselves going to more publicly funded institutions to do this, the institutions themselves have an opportunity to increase diversity the right way by simply providing what I call evangelical examples, people who actually practice what they preach, rather than somebody simply saying, you need to get behind the wheel of this truck, you're a woman. It's like a woman saying, I'm a truck driver, let's get you behind the wheel of this truck and let's make it work together. I wanted to ask you a question, because you mentioned you're getting young people of all shapes and sizes. people in the military, much like people who grew up on a farm, you get them into a truck driving school, and it's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Give me the keys. I was curious if the young people who weren't military, are you finding, because of the, we don't raise people on farms as much anymore. We have a volunteer service as opposed to a draft. I was wondering if, in your experience, you're noticing a lot of these younger people have a little bit of trepidation around the large equipment. It's, when we talk about, 60, 70,000 pound fire breathing dragon you're getting behind the wheel of. Do you find that the younger people, not having been exposed to this sort of equipment until this moment, tend to be a little nervous around it, or are you looking at people being like, I'm in, get me the keys? What's going on?
I think we got a mix of both of that, of both of those items that you mentioned. So we do have a lot of farm kids that join the program, but we also have a good blend of the city kid as well. And most of the times, by the time they get to the truck and actually have to touch the truck, they've sat in the classroom and in the simulator for at least a week. So by the time they actually have to get in the truck, they're not as intimidated by the size, because they've been getting in and out of a simulator that we use already. A lot of the farm kids, they come, and even though, mom, pa, and uncle have taught them how to drive a truck, they're finding that mom, pa, and uncle use a lot of shortcuts that we shouldn't be using. So now they're getting a formal education on the truck. So it helps those farm kids understand, hey, if I want to take better care of my equipment, I need to do this with the truck, not necessarily do what dad and uncle did with the truck, right? The city kids that come, they are learning experience. So for a lot of them, it's the big eyes of first time touching a large piece of equipment or moving something that's bigger than a car or SUV, and seeing them go from being excited and nervous to being calm and ready to drive on the road over a matter of a couple of weeks, getting used to that piece of machinery.
And that goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about the drop from 10 to 8. But one of the things that people were really listening closely was, other than an hour here or an hour there, you didn't really eliminate anything from the program. What you did was you embedded it. And I'm wondering if that kind of rapid fire mix of, looking at rules and regulations, understanding the engagement of what it is you need to know while you're on the road, combined with simulators, combined behind time with the truck. How do you guys mix and match that approach, where we're going from road testing to desk work to simulators and back and forth? And how much time do they get on those simulators? And speaking of simulators, what kind of positive impact is allowing people to get reps on the simulators have on their overall driving ability?
So for us, the simulator class we call Basic Operations of a Manual Transmission. They get 32 hours on the simulator. And they're rotating while on the simulator. So they might get an hour and a half, and then they'll take a break, stretch that leg, think about what they did right, think about what they did wrong. And in that hour and a half that they have away from the simulator, they're working on their textbook work. So they're reading chapters on shifting, chapters on backing, chapters on braking, and vehicle inspection. So they're learning those things when they're not on the simulator. Then when their hour and a half, 2 hour window comes back up, they get back on the simulator again, and they're able to think about the mistakes they made before, build off of those mistakes and correct those mistakes, and then fix those mistakes. Our simulator grades them on 4 different challenging levels. The first level is TikTok, and it's just teaching them the rhythm of pushing the clutch, moving the neutral, pushing the clutch, pushing the gear. And once they build that foundation and they pass that level a couple times to show that they're proficient on that level, then they move to the level of the truck actually rolling, and now they're driving first gear to fifth gear. The next level teaches them how to downshift. And the last level, the simulator puts them in real-world traffic with cars cutting them off, coming to abrupt stops. Maybe they have to take an exit, and the machine tells them what to do. And they're learning all that on a simulator for 1 week. Then after that week, they come and they drive on a closed track for a week, where the instructors are putting out cones and making them pull forward through a serpentine, connecting to a trailer for the first time, going through the steps of coupling and uncoupling on a closed track away from the real world. And after they do that for a week, then we introduce them to real world traffic. The first day is just a bobtail, on and off ramps, every on and off ramp on the highway, learning how to downshift correctly. Then after we do that, we're going to add a trailer to the truck and go right back out and do the exact same thing again, on and off ramps, downshifting, upshifting with a trailer. Then they'll drive the back roads, 2-lane roads with a trailer. And then from there, they move into the suburbs and small city areas. So it's a progression from reading a textbook, driving on a simulator, closed track with no traffic around to driving on the track. And then we mix those days up, those road days. They're out with real traffic. Half the class is back doing backing, and then they flip flop the next 2 days. And so they're getting a mix of all that and not getting necessarily overran with too much at one time.
Well,
So everything is mixed.
Well, and the other thing about this is, and by the way, what I'm actually going to say here, make this really clear. Douglas, of course, he knows what I'm talking about. He actually just outlined this for me, but I'm making sure I understand this. It's also intentionally and cleverly replicating about what it is to be a truck driver. That you're going, that you're going from driving to having to fill out paperwork to having doing data entry. All of the elements of being a truck driver, all of the elements of kind of being integrated into the supply chain are actually being, in different ways, replicated in the way the curriculum is structured, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Correct. Yes, sir.
That's pretty groovy, by the way. I wanted to ask you, by the way, this is really kind of a big thing in regards to the paperwork. So, we just had Robert Braswell on for Tech Talk, and a number of people have kind of commented about how informative that was, and we always try on this show to keep people up to kind of speed on the rules and regulations. I've always said this is one of the great finishing schools as far as that is concerned. But you guys want to make sure that they might not be able to quote the book chapter and verse, but they might actually know where the regulation is in the book and can find it rather quickly, right?
Correct. One of the things we do is there's a 35-chapter textbook that we use from J.J. Keller. They use that 35-chapter book like it's the Bible. And a lot of our students, even once they've graduated, they buy the textbook from the bookstore and take it with them so they can always reference back to some of the stuff out of the textbook, which also sends them to the FMCSA regulations on what to do and what not to do in certain situations.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference because, a lot of people think that driving, you don't, but a lot of people think that driving is simply driving, what is it? They think that driving is simply driving. You get behind the wheel, you turn the key, and you do whatever you have to do, and then you get there and you get out and you're done. This kind of program is a great reminder about how that works. Okay, I am obsessed with college football. I won't lie, I love it, and I always love watching how people have to adjust their recruiting strategies. And the reason why I love recruiting in college football is because it isn't just a matter of finding the best players, it's finding the best players that fit your culture. So I'm kind of curious, when you guys are, and you've already described what you're looking at, what you're looking for, how do you guys target who you're looking for, and how are you able to figure out when they get in the classroom early on so that people don't waste their money or time being like, this is exactly for you, and here's how we're going to give you the best experience, or saying, we're going to keep trying for a little bit here, but at some point, as smart as you are or as eager as you are, you're never really going to hack it as a truck driver. So talk about how it is you find and keep these really good students, because if you're doing this, this becomes a great tip to your partners who you are providing the employees of tomorrow to.
Well, one of the things we do is we do a lot of public events, and our college does a lot of marketing and recruiting for us. We'll go out to different fairs, workforce development meetings, things of that nature to reach the people. So a lot of times by the time they get to us, their mind is made up that this is what they want to do, and they've made that decision, a firm decision, that this is the choice that they're going to pursue. Because we're a public school, we don't turn away anybody. We're going to find a way to teach you. We're going to find a way to get that piece into you that you need. Even if it's something hard for you to digest, we're going to find a way to put some sugar on it so you'll swallow it and take the medicine. Our success rate at our school is over 98% for people that attend WCTC. The few times in the last 10 years that I've been here, the people that didn't come back to retest after failing the CDL test were people that were ego-driven, and their ego didn't allow them to come back and take the test because of their pride. But we've had people that just wouldn't give up because that's how we try to coach them and mentor them to not give up. And, hey, even those days where it's hard, tomorrow has a chance to be better. So let's come back tomorrow and see if we can get shifting down a little better. Let's come back tomorrow. Let's see if we can get that parallel park down a little better. And it's when you try to enforce that kind of mindset into your students that they won't give up. And even if it's hard for them, they'll still keep trying.
Well, and the other big thing, and by the way, big thanks to Martin Garcia for facilitating this conversation. We really appreciate him as well, too. And if you want to find out more about the WCTC truck driving program, you can do exactly that by going to WCTC.edu. truck dash driving, wctc.edu truck dash driving. The thing about it is that I was kind of curious when you guys find somebody that's having problems backing up. Do you mix and match trainers, being like, well, Janie over here is pretty darn terrific at teaching backing up, so we're going to partner you with her a couple of times and see what maybe she can do with you. How do you guys handle student assignment to teacher assignment?
Normally, the full-time instructor takes that class from start to finish, and that full-time instructor for each cohort teaches backing. There has been a couple instances where a student just couldn't get it, and somebody has been called in as extra. Hey, can you come in and maybe you can reach this guy because I can't reach this guy. We've had a great success story with one individual. The full-time instructor for that class couldn't reach this student. He thought different. So that other instructor came in, met with the student, saw some things about the student, and was able to figure out a way to get that student to understand backing on a different level. That young man now works for Coca-Cola, and he's been there for about 5-6 years now.
We don't have a lot of time left here, but I want to make sure you guys also know who Douglas Clarks is. He's an 18-year U.S. Army veteran. He's a seasoned transportation professional, and of course, he is a national truck driving education leader. He is the director of the Technical College CDL program and board member of the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools. And I don't need to say this; it's in his bio, but it speaks for itself. He is incredibly passionate about training the next generation of safe, skilled drivers. With that in mind, you guys are always one of the most people don't realize the most difficult thing in being in a college environment is making sure you have the funds available for the incoming technologies. I've always said it comes down to three things. Do I have enough time to live my life? Do I have enough pay to live it? And do I have the technology that's going to protect me and make my job as efficient as possible? Talk to us about what is coming up technology-wise that you're keeping an eye on and what you're looking to onboard at the college.
Well, I think trucking is entering a new era. We're seeing electric trucks, advanced safety systems, and even early stages of autonomous technology. But no matter how the industry evolves, there will always be a need for skilled, adaptable professional drivers in the seat of every truck. Truck driver keeps America moving forward, and no matter what, we have to be prepared for the next generation and take pride in professionalism for that generation. So making sure they understand that the technology does not outweigh you being a safe driver. Technology does not limit you from making the right decision. That's some of the things we're trying to embed in the students. Some of our trucks have early warning devices that have some mitigation. We have an AI system built into our semi-trucks now for all of our road trucks, but that does not outweigh you being a safe professional behind the wheel. And that's some of the basis that we stand on while we're teaching class, that even though a lot of things are changing, everything still relies on a safe driver being in that seat.
Really quickly, promise me at some point you'll come back sooner rather than later, because I've been meaning to have this conversation with someone, you're the perfect fit for it, about the fact that, anytime we work in manufacturing, anytime we work with our hands, we take pride in the products that we make. I mean, a purpose-driven life is the core of everything. And that, when
Yes,
we
sir.
see something that we make, we're very proud of it. A lot of people don't really understand that a teacher's real payoff comes in seeing the students that they've trained do well. So promise me, and I can hear it in your voice, promise me that you'll make time for us, come back at some point and have a lengthy conversation about how important it is for teachers and trainers to make sure that their students become employable. Because we didn't even get into your partnerships either. The idea that you actually are serving a community, right? I mean, we're not talking about creating the next generation of just over-the-road drivers. We're talking about making sure the people in Waukesha actually have the drivers that they need to make the community hum and work, right?
True. We have an advisory board here at WCTC that's made up of trucking employers in our area, and we have to make sure we service them so they help direct and guide us a little bit on what they want the driver to come out knowing and how they want them to be seated in that seat properly. So we have to service those advisory board members as well as the area around us to make sure that we're putting safe drivers into those seats. And you're 100% right. The pride of an instructor is that student. Here recently, I bumped into one of my old students at a movie theater. He was like, Mr. Clarks, oh my God, man, you changed my life. This kid now owns 2 semi-trucks that haul fuel from Milwaukee to Green Bay every day. And so now this young gentleman went from almost being homeless to making $200,000 a year hauling fuel under his own authority. And when you have those moments, like you hug this guy with tears in the movie theater because of how much joy he just brought to you as an instructor. So you are 100% right on those type of stories.
Yeah, there is nothing better in this world than seeing information that you have given to somebody else be used in the best, most honorable, and highly productive ways. Douglas Clarks, it is so good to have you. Thank you so much for making time for us. We will find more time to talk. There is still plenty we have not dug into. Go have the best of days, my friend.
Thank you. Be blessed. Have a great day.
wctc.edu/truck-drive/.